Hello, we're here in Paris at the Port Royal Abbey, and we're here to learn more about a really important thinker to me personally named Blaise Pascal, who spent some time here in his life. Pascal was from France and lived from 1623 to 1662. And he's widely known in history for being one of the best scientific and geometric minds. At an early age, he made a number of incredible scientific achievements. For example, he invented the first calculator, kind of an early computer that could add and subtract and help his father, who was an accountant in Rouen, France, do his equations. He discovered the vacuum. The Pascal, the unit of measurement, is named after him. Pascal's triangle. He developed an omnibus system, public transport in Paris, the very first one. So he was just an incredibly sophisticated scientific geometric mind. He was a genius. At age 31, though, Pascal had a radical conversion experience where he abandoned all of his scientific pursuits and dedicated himself fully to his Christian faith. And he basically locked himself away in a room and didn't see any friends, and just thought and wrote and reflected deeply on the highest things, the highest questions in life. Pascal was consumed with questions of the highest order, of origin, purpose, and destiny. Who are we? Why are we here? What is the meaning of life? What does it mean to be human? What is the best way to live? And he was utterly convinced of the greatness of humanity, but also the misery of humanity. He was consumed with all questions pertaining to the human condition. And he anticipated many of the modern crises and concerns that we endure and are experienced today. For example, the deaths of despair that are of growing concern amongst researchers and policymakers. Deaths related to loneliness, suicide, drug overdose, alcoholism. This is a growing and important tragedy in our nation that are a uniquely modern problem that Pascal anticipated. He said all of man's misery derives from his inability to sit alone in a room. He anticipated boredom and anxiety and despair. These are not words that they even had in the modern era, and he helped create them. Ennui, anomie, these are words that are part of a modern vocabulary because they didn't exist for most of human history. Pascal is also known for Pascal's wager, where he says if you want to win, it's a wager about the Christian faith, and he says because his Christianity was incredibly important to him. He said, why not believe in Christianity? Because if you believe and you win all, and if you choose not to believe in the Christian faith, you lose all. So after his conversion, he was just consumed with questions of the faith, of meaning, of origin, and he led a very extreme lifestyle, an extreme asceticism, where anytime he was alone most of the time, but anytime he saw friends, he made sure to wear a coat that had little nails on the inside. And if he found himself enjoying the company of others too much, he would dig himself with his coat of nails to remind himself of pain and suffering, which is a little bit extreme in my opinion. He led a life of depression and of frail health. His entire life he struggled with these things, and his entire life he was very aware of the frailty of human life and existence, probably because of his frail health. He ended up dying a very early death at the age of 39. And when he was found, his room was consumed, scattered with little fragments, little pieces of paper that the executors of his account turned into what we now have as his pensées. And that's just, his work was unpublished, but these are just fragments of his thoughts. He wanted to write a book about the human condition and about an apology, a defense for the Christian faith, and he never got to. Unfortunately, he died before this book was finished, so that his pensées are just aphorisms, just his fleeting thoughts of reflections on the human condition. So he's very well known for his pensées, for his scientific achievements. While he was here at Port Royal, he wrote his Provincial Letters, which was a defense of Jansenism, kind of an extreme fundamentalist version of Catholicism. And so it's really amazing to be here, to be here walking in Pascal's footsteps today. Pascal is an incredibly important, penetrating thinker, very important to my life, and very grateful to be here. And an important part of the great conversation after him, he went on to influence everyone from Voltaire to Rousseau. His Pensées and his other works were incredibly influential on people like Tocqueville and many others, and very important to me and my life. And so it's a real privilege to be here reflecting on Pascal today, walking in his footsteps, where we know he spent time right in this place in Paris, here in Port Royal. Hello, we are here in Paris, and right behind me is the Church of Saint-Etienne. This is significant because this is where Blaise Pascal was buried. It's interesting because right in front of me is the Pantheon, the French Pantheon, that was originally erected as a church to honor Saint Genevieve, the patron saint of Paris. And but ironically, during the French Revolution, Robespierre decided to abandon the project of the Pantheon to become a church, and instead dedicated it to become a resting place to celebrate the greatness of French citizens. And it became symbolic of the quote-unquote Republic of Virtue that embodied the sort of Enlightenment ideals of reason and science. And so people like Rousseau and Victor Hugo and Voltaire are buried in the Pantheon. And it's interesting that they are side by side, because Pascal kind of represented a skepticism, a healthy skepticism of the Enlightenment project and the emphasis on reason. Pascal was a contemporary of René Descartes, and who kind of ushered us into the Enlightenment period. And Pascal said of Descartes, "Descartes, you are useless and uncertain." And Pascal was rightly skeptical that science and reason could answer all of our questions in life. Famously, Blaise Pascal wrote in his Pensées, "Le cœur de sa raison, la raison ne connaît pas." The heart has reasons that reason cannot understand. That there are a lot of things in life that we require heart knowledge to fully apprehend. Things like faith, for example. Pascal was an incredibly devout Christian. And interestingly enough, and sadly, tragically, during the French Revolution, this church was ransacked, and Blaise Pascal's body was thrown about all throughout Paris and lost forever. And that kind of embodied the reactionary frustration and violence of the French Revolution that tragically resulted in us not having being able to, that was very dishonoring to a very important thinker that was skeptical of the French Revolution, of the ideas that led to the French Revolution, that underpinned them. So really, really wonderful to be here to honor Blaise Pascal, a really important thinker in the Christian tradition, but just objectively in the human tradition as well. He anticipated so many of the problems of the modern mind: distraction, boredom, things that we didn't even have words for before the modern era. And so really grateful to be able to honor him here today.